Okay, today we are going to do a preventive maintenance and explain what it is, why it's important. I get asked all the time, what is maintenance and why is it necessary, and is it worth having a maintenance contract? Today we are going to show you what we do on a maintenance visit and how important it is, and what's the true value of having maintenance performed, and do you really save money? We'll be right back. Okay, the first and most important thing that we want to check is the coils. If you can see here, this one is pretty typical, very dirty coils. This customer has a maintenance agreement, but as you can see, we every year have to clean the coils. Coils having a dirty coil will cost you 30% in energy. Basically, the way that it's saving you money by having the cleaner coils is the refrigerant picks up heat, and that heat is dropped off out here at these coils. Cleaner that these coils are, the better the energy transfer between the refrigerant and the air passing across it. So you want these coils to be as clean as possible. So we'll show you what we do here in just a second on how we clean these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is a coil cleaner. You cannot just use anything on your coils. Now, I use non-acid coil cleaner with a heavy degreaser. You make sure that you don't use anything too acidic, and that you also never use the coil cleaner straight. Always have to have a good proper mix, meaning I have a 32:1 ratio for my coil cleaner. If you have anything stronger than that, it will destroy the coils. So what we'll go ahead and do is we put our ratio in here. I've already got this pre-mixed. I pre-mix it all the time, pump it up, and we'll spray it onto the coils, and you'll begin to see the difference that it'll make. So, and you want to apply it generously to the coils, making sure that you get everywhere, and you'll begin to see it working fairly quickly. Okay. And we'll be right back. Show you what difference it makes when we wash the coil off. Okay, so we're going to spray on the coils now, and you want to make sure that you are getting them as clean as possible. Make sure that you spray the coils thoroughly after you've used the coil cleaner, because if you were to leave the coil cleaner on there, although it's a non-acid, it is still an abrasive chemical and would damage the coil. So make sure that you use plenty of water to clean the coil and get all of the coil cleaner off. As you can see, it makes a huge difference in the cleanliness of the coil, and it'll make a big difference in the airflow and the heat transfer on this system. And we always start with the coils, because having dirty coils affects the entire unit. And it affects the refrigerant pressures, and if you have dirty coils, you cannot have accurate readings and make an accurate diagnosis on a heating and air conditioning system. I've seen plenty of technicians that come out to a system and will not clean the coils, will not even check the coils to see if they're dirty, and will assume that because their readings are, low suction and a high head, or they won't even check the head pressure, that they will assume that it's low on refrigerant, when that's actually not the case. I've actually been to quite a few systems where by just cleaning the coil was all that they needed. They did not need refrigerant at all. Having clean coils makes all the difference in the world. So now we've got the coils cleaned, then we'll go on to the next step, which is to check the electrical components, and we'll be right back. Before we check the electrical components, we're going to check the condensate piping. In this particular case, and in most cases, you'll find the condensate piping. If you look down along here, you'll see that the piping runs off and then runs off into the ground. A lot of people pipe the condensate away from the units, but then they forget all about them. And so you have to follow it until it comes to the end. And as you can see, this one is buried. And now it's become a problem instead of it being something to help remove the condensate from the unit. It's actually clogging it up because it's in the dirt. So we will lift this out of the dirt and make sure that it's clean. Usually I start with spraying water into the line and making sure that it's coming back out. Then we'll go to the other end and flush it out the opposite direction. But the point is to make sure that you have free-flowing condensate that is not down into the dirt. That is probably one of the third largest service calls will come from having a clogged condensate drain line. So we want to make sure that that's taken care of. And next we will check the electrical components. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're at the electrical components. If we come down, then we'll first and foremost, and the most important thing is always check the capacitor. First thing you want to do is determine what type of capacitor is, otherwise known as its rating. This one is a 45.5 370 VAC. So that means that it is 40 microfarads on the compressor, 5 microfarads on the fan, and then it's a 370 VAC. It's going to be important for if you want to replace it, and we'll also diagram which one goes where. Take a look at it, make sure that you remember, otherwise you can go back to the blueprints and verify it if you get it mixed up. But so we'll be removing the hermetic and the fan and the common. Then we will take our multimeter. Now my multimeter specifically tests for microfarads. So now we will go between the hermetic and the common, and we're going to want to see what its value is. Now right now we are at 38.4. So it should, when it was brand new, it was reading 40 microfarads. Now it's reading 38. So it's time to actually replace this, because the manufacturer recommends that this be replaced. This particular one, well, most of them have it printed directly on it, but most manufacturers recommend plus or minus 6%. I say plus or minus 10% is kind of where you want to replace your capacitor. That means in this particular case, when it is 4 microfarads lower, 2 microfarads is kind of in that range where you're between 5 and 10%. Because this particular part is under warranty, we're going to want to replace it for the customer, and that way it's not costing them very much at the time. It's just part of the maintenance. So we will be replacing this capacitor. And next we're going to want to check the contactor. The contactor here, we're going to be looking to make sure that it's not burnt or pitted. Obviously make sure that you have the electricity off to the unit prior. Always whenever you're checking any electrical, make sure that you have the electricity turned off and that you verified it. So we will also be checking our connections, making sure that they're nice and tight. A loose connection can cause all sorts of problems with the electrical system, and we'll check all of the connections. And then we will verify that the coil on the unit is ohming good. So we'll be setting our meter to ohms, and we'll be checking the coil. And this one is 0.08 ohms, which is perfectly fine for a contactor coil. So then we'll be putting everything back on. Make sure that everything goes back on in its exact place. That way, and if you're not sure, refer to your blueprints. There've been plenty of times I've been going through looking at it, and then I will come to the blueprints, which are always listed on one of the panels. The blueprints will make sure that you are getting everything in its correct spot, because it's very easy to make a mistake. If you're not sure how to read blueprints, then you probably shouldn't be doing this. So we're going to check the circuit board. And sorry about that. So we're going to check the circuit board, and one of the things we're going to be looking for is, bugs, spiders, things of that nature. We're going to be looking at the resistors. If you want to take a quick shot in here, the resistors here, you're going to be looking for any overheating. You're going to be looking for any abnormal wear, and then there's not much that you can test. I mean, there is a way to test everything, but on a maintenance call we're not going to do that. We're just looking for abnormal wear and tear. We're looking for our connections to be nice and tight. We're looking for overall condition, and then we will verify that everything is working correctly in its sequence of operations. If it's following its sequence of operations, everything's pretty good. Now, the next thing that we'll check is our transformer. Transformer, you can ohm them out, but the best is to check it when it's powered. Make sure that it is not overproducing 24 volts and it's not underproducing. You can test them by ohming them, but in a maintenance situation, we're not going to be doing that. And then finally, we're going to be looking at things like the coils. Now, coils, you'll be looking for telltale signs of refrigerant leaking. You'll be looking for, in this case, you can see the capillary tubes then around, and a lot of these, they will put a capillary tube right up next to a copper line, and the vibration of the unit will cause the capillary tube to actually saw through one pipe or the other, and you'll get a leak. So we'll be looking for leaks visually, and then we will move on to the refrigerant charge, and we'll be right back. Alright, so now we're going to be checking the refrigerant charge, and I have my digital gauges. I use 2 gauges. I prefer the field piece, but those are in the shop right now, so I'm going to be using my Testo 550, and we're going to set it up for the type of refrigerant that this particular system uses. Nowadays we have multiple refrigerants to choose from, and you're going to need a digital gauge that will be accurate in your superheat and subcooling calculations on that refrigerant. So the first thing we'll do is look at the rating plate on the unit, which will tell us what the particular unit is. And so in this particular case, this is a Goodman gas pack, and we have that it's a 13 SEER GPG 13. It's 30,000 BTUs with a 70,000 BTU for its heating. So then we're going to be coming down and looking for what type of refrigerant. So now this is a R22, and its original charge was 77 ounces of R22. Divide that by 16, give you pounds, and then whatever your remainder is, be your ounces. So this particular one, we're going to set our gauges to R22. So we will scroll through and then it automatically changes for me. Now, if you'll back up a little bit, this particular one, in this case, all of our service ports are right here located next to the coil. We are going to want to make sure that the door is on and covering this area. Otherwise, you're going to have a bad reading from your coil, your condenser coil, because you're not getting the proper amount of airflow through it. So you want to, I know for the Goodmans, it's kind of hard to get it exact, but you're going to want to put your door on as best you possibly can and hold it in place to get as much airflow properly flowing through the coils. So I'm going to get this set up and get it turned on, and we'll be right back.